Hello everyone, I would like to especially welcome you to this special edition of the TheBarrelCast. My name is Ronnie Bravo Katunji. I am the founder and CEO of Barrel Magazine, Uganda's petroleum industry magazine. In this special edition of the TheBarrelCast, we bring you an exclusive interview with Mr. NJ Ayuk. Mr. NJ Ayuk is the founder and CEO of Centurion Law Group, a Pan-African law firm which is based in Johannesburg that focuses on the energy and financial and extractive sector. He's also the executive chairman of the Africa Energy Chamber. Mr. NJ Ayuk is renowned for his drill baby drill policy, where he encourages African countries to drill their oil and gas resources in order to grow and develop. Now, we got an opportunity to catch up with him alongside the Youth in Energy Conference, which took place here in Kampala. And we had a candid, unfiltered conversation on Uganda's energy sector. We got to discuss Eco Project in depth. We got to talk about Tilenga. We got to talk about Kingfisher and generally the state of energy in Africa in respect to oil and gas. So let's get into it. Okay. NJ, it's so good to have you in Uganda.
Thank you.
What's your experience so far?
It's been good. I had my toke, so I'm happy. And but you know, I am filled with a lot of pride and a lot of hope.
Yeah.
When I look at the young people.
Yeah.
And I look at their vision on energy, where they want to take their country.
Yeah.
And how they believe so much that energy is going to be the future.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed with the hard work that's been done by the investors, Total Energies, McDermott, Sinnock, Uganda, and them being able to drive up energy.
Yeah.
And make sure that quality projects are being done in a sustainable way and in ways that can really work. So that is really, I'm impressed by what I see so far in the country.
Oh, that's
and
great.
The level of working together between the government and the operators.
Yeah.
It is a blueprint for what Africa needs.
Awesome. That is so good to know. So you've been a crusader for eradication of energy poverty in Africa for some time now. What's your motivation? What drives you?
I think it drives me because I understood that without energy, Africa has no hope, has no future.
That's true.
And we can talk about having new technologies, we can talk about food and everything. We need energy to be able to have fertilizers and drive our farms and also be able to drive our hospitals.
Yeah.
But also growing up in communities where we didn't have lights or lights came off and for a few hours then went there. I didn't want the young people today and the next generation to go through that.
Yeah.
And it's really important that those of us that have been blessed, that have a voice, we should be able to really go out there and really be able to drive up energy, because if we don't meet our energy security and this energy challenge, then we fail in the future.
Yeah.
We fail in the next generation of Africans and what they have to be, and that is wrong.
Absolutely, I hear you. But you see, Africa is home to over 620 trillions of cubic feet of gas, and also, billions of crude oil. But we still have this energy poverty problem. So what are we doing as the Africa Energy Chamber, as generally the African community, to utilize some of that resource that we have now to get out of this energy poverty, to put the lights on and they always come on?
We have to be very practical.
Yeah.
Some of the people that have really been able to drive up energy to produce some of this natural gas and oil, they have been international companies, and contracts were already put in place to get this oil or natural gas into international markets. Yeah. So we need to be very conscious that we have to pay for it. It's not free. Yeah. You need the technical skills to extract the oil. You need the financial skills to finance the extraction of the oil or natural gas, but we need to start looking at building infrastructure. That's why I like President Museveni's plan of investing oil money into infrastructure. So we need to build pipelines across Africa, within Uganda, so we can pipe gas across Uganda to really be able to get gas into Ugandan markets, into Ugandan households. We can get pipe LPG across Uganda, so we deal with clean cooking issues ourselves. But we also have to invest. We need to put some skin in the game.
Yeah.
The idea that we're always going to wait in Africa for somebody to come from a Western country to do everything for us, it's wrong. Because
Absolutely.
we have $2.3 trillion of private capital in Africa. We need to create an enabling environment, cut out red tape, cut out bureaucracy, so we pave a way for private sector capital to go into changing and revolutionize this industry and our countries. That is what is going to get us, because right now we already have the Africa Continental Free Trade Act that is working and is still going into some implementations, and we'll still be driving that. Intra-Africa energy trade, it's really going to be the future, so that we can also be able to move energy across Africa within countries, but we also have to deal with visas, because you can't say you want oil or natural gas to move within Africa to beat energy poverty and industrialize Africa without us looking at how people that have to make this work will have to move. Yeah. So these evolutions on tearing down borders and dealing with visa issues, it's really, really important. It might not be the most politically correct issue, but that's what leadership is about. It's us taking those tough decisions, difficult positions that might not be popular, but it has to. I remember when I started talking about energy poverty and started talking about a just energy transition, it was very, very unpopular.
Yeah.
Everybody thought we were crazy. But today, it's very popular. Everybody's talking about the forgotten 600 million. Everybody's talking about the forgotten 900 million without clean cooking. So we went from being very unpopular to but we stuck to it because we believed it was right. And so it's not about popularity. I always say, I don't want to be liked, I want to be right. Because
Absolutely.
if we were right on the issues, then it means a lot more of our people are going to benefit from that. And oil and gas is the right thing for Uganda and for Africa, and we should not apologize for wanting to produce oil. We should drill and drill more. Absolutely. That is exactly what we need in Africa right now. And Uganda needs to be drilling wells, a lot more wells than it is drilling today.
Drill, baby, drill, huh?
Drill, baby, drill.
That actually you've answered my next question, where I was going to ask how we are facilitating this, because Uganda is hoping to be a new producer on the market very soon, but there's African countries that have been doing this for a while. And if there was that intra way of working, Uganda could tap on these skills so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I was going to ask how, as the chamber, as somebody that is crusading for this, how you are facilitating this conversation so that, Mozambique doesn't feel so far away from Uganda, Nigeria doesn't feel so far away. Nigerian companies can come here and drill wells. We don't always have to look out of the country. Yeah.
Absolutely. The first thing we need to do is that we walk away from local content. I don't like the word local content. We also start to establish a lot of things on national content. Because national content, that's Namibia, Ugandan content, it's national. Yeah. But then we also move into what I call Africa content. Absolutely. If you can't find the skills in Uganda, let's look at what you can find in Kenya or South Sudan or Nigeria or Algeria or Egypt. And we use African skills to develop African projects. So Africa content is very, very important. But also we have to also be practical. We need to look at how we have been able to treat companies that are investing and doing work. It shouldn't take the bureaucratic nature of our system, and the red tapes sometimes have handicapped a lot of investments from coming in, even from within Africa or coming from international markets. It shouldn't take so long to approve a project than the time you need to build that project. So we need to be able to cut red tape, streamline the process of doing permits, but then also hold companies accountable and work with them and continue to build that working relationship between the companies and the investors. It doesn't matter if it's an investor coming from Europe or from South Africa. Yeah. That relationship is so important to get a strong partnership going. But Uganda is in a unique position when it comes to this. Yeah. Where you have the Telenga, Kingfisher projects, what's going to happen there? You're opening a whole new basin, because what has always been a problem is that we could not unlock these resources. Yeah. So with the ECOP pipeline, there's going to be a lot of exploration in the DRC area. There's going to be a lot of exploration across that area, and there's going to be billions of barrels of oil to be found. But right now, we already have a shipping route for that oil into international markets.
Yeah.
But there's also plans to really deal with local energy security and capacity to build refineries. And it's just going to create so much jobs and multiplier jobs that is going to really give a very, very strong boost to the economy. So I'm excited about this because the economy here is going to take off.
Absolutely. So Uganda's journey to where we are now has been a very difficult one, you could say, because you have seen the stop EACOP signs, you have seen people that are saying do not drill, and even getting capital, getting financing for these projects has been a problem because virtually the traditional funders, the traditional sources of capital have said, no, we're not willing to fund this. What's your comment on that?
Nobody is saying stop Norway.
True.
Norway is producing 4 million barrels. So if the EU Parliament has the audacity to criticize Uganda and say Uganda should not produce its oil, should leave it in the ground, well, look at your backyard. The UK gave out almost 200 licenses. Why are you not criticizing them? Norway is producing 4 million barrels a day. Why are you not criticizing? Why are you so fixated about this country that's going
of 250.
that is going to be doing 230, 250,000 barrels a day?
Yeah.
I think there's something fundamentally wrong with that, and I think we need to turn that around. But they are going to continue saying this because they have an anti-Ugandan, anti-Africa, anti-oil narrative that has to go. So anything that looks like oil development that can transform a country, you have a very woke liberal crowd in Western countries that are fundamentally against that kind of development because the idea of them, of control, of them giving aid and handouts, because when they give you handouts, they control you.
Absolutely.
But when you can really do for yourself what they expect to do for you, you are independent. So we need to embrace free markets, limited government, individual responsibility, and really drive that. We need to dismiss this idea that you need to leave your oil in the ground, you need to stop EACOP, you need to stop Uganda. Stopping EACOP is stopping Uganda. Just change the
Absolutely.
signs.
Yeah.
We need to be very honest about it. It's not stop EACOP.
Stop
EACOP
Uganda.
is just a conduit. It is stop Uganda. And we need to be very adamant about it and very emphatic that we are not stopping Uganda because there is nothing wrong with Uganda. What is wrong is the noise that Ugandans have to deal with. There's nothing wrong with EACOP. What is wrong is the misinformation that's been put out there and trying to hold good people from really developing an industry that can really power or grow this country.
Absolutely.
It is important.
So one of the challenges is the financing, like we said. So how are the African financial institutions, playing a role to enable, the businesses and to be able to participate in the oil and gas sector, for example?
We need to make it more. We need to make these projects more bankable, especially
Yes.
like in the service side, and we need to prepare more. There is an issue with financing. There's been a big block on financing from Europe, from Western countries, but it's been very hypocritical.
Absolutely.
They said natural gas is a fossil fuel, bad, nobody should invest in it. 3 years ago, they decided to say natural gas is green energy, and since it's green energy, they're going to invest in it, they're going to put a lot of money in that green energy, in natural gas, but wait a minute, it's going to be for Europe only. For Africa, it is bad. For Europe, it is green energy, it is good. That kind of double standard, that kind of hypocrisy is not what we need to deal with. So we need to create our own African financial institution. That's why we are the Energy Chamber. We're very, very much in favor of the African Energy Bank. We're very, very much in favor of saying we are not going to get caught up in the demonization of oil and gas. We're not going to do that.
No.
If we see an oil man, we embrace him.
Absolutely.
We are not going to get in this failed narrative to say Total Energies is the problem, Exxon is the problem, Chevron is the problem, and Woodside is the problem. They're not the problem. They are the solution, because they're doing what many of the NGOs that are so critical of us have not done for decades. So we embrace energy, but we need to demonize. We do not need to demonize energy producers, but we need to also look at African finance institutions. Why are we putting billions upon billions of African pension funds, African funds from our governments, in Western markets that refuse to fund us? We need to be thinking about putting money in financial institutions that finance Africa.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like I go to a bank, I bank with you, and you won't loan me money. That's basically what it is. We take in African funds, put in institutions that refuse to loan money for our development. No, we need to put money in banks that would loan money back to us to develop Uganda, develop Africa, because we have to be able to be that generation that changes something and sets the path for a transformative African continent.
Absolutely. And are there such banks, are there such financial institutions that are at the forefront of trying to change
Afrexim Bank and the African Petroleum Producer Organization heed to our call, and they have basically signed the agreement to create the African Energy Bank. We hope for it to start functioning by the first quarter next year.
Okay.
You're going to have an African Energy Bank that's going to start with at least $5 billion, but it's going to raise a lot of capital to go right as big as it can come, because we need to be able to finance our energy future, to generate that, to really define what energy is going to be for us, so we don't have to always go back Western banks for financing, and we get turned down or get disgraced. We need to rally African capital to really do pipelines across Africa, to really do small-scale LNG, to really do small-scale exploration. Onshore natural gas exploration is so cost-effective and is so possible to be done within Africa. Look at America. Look at what the Wildcats have done in America. I like drill, baby, drill. They've been able to go onshore America, drilled in small places, in small town USA. They turn those towns into boom towns. They just drill for gas everywhere. And the US today is the largest producer of oil and natural gas in the world. So we can replicate that across Africa. Onshore drilling. We go on it big scale, bigly, drill, baby, drill policy. We drive that. We put the infrastructure in place to be able to use that gas in those communities. The international companies will be able to do that because there is a regulatory framework to make sure that that gas comes right into town, that gas comes right into different facilities, and they are getting their money as they go.
Oh, absolutely. I like the big drill, baby, drill policies. That's what we really need. So I was going to say, Uganda is soon producing. What's the advantage of Uganda joining organizations like Apple, like OPEC Plus?
The big advantage there is that you come in late but not last, so you can learn a lot of what others have done, mistakes that have been made, but also you can learn from some of your successes. Absolutely, OPEC is very, very important. I mean, Uganda has always had a very, very big working relationship with OPEC. OPEC and Uganda is like matoke and peanut soup. They get along very well together. So Uganda is going to be with OPEC. There's just no way they're not going to work together because they have to be able to drive that. African Petroleum Producers Organization, Uganda is already there. Uganda is an African nation. It's going to work with other colleagues to drive that. But also, it's going to see a lot of technologies that others have used to really advance and really avoid making the mistakes that others have made. And I think it's very, very important to have that collaboration, that interaction. It is so, so important.
Awesome. So I want us to just two more questions. I want us to leave Uganda for now and go Africa. So you were part of the team that was really advocating for a just energy transition during the COP28 in Dubai, and you made the case for Africa very, very eloquently. So what are some of the outcomes? Do you see any? Are they implementing some of the promises that they gave, and what's the outlook for going into COP29?
Brother, they're not implementing anything. I think I've been going to COP. I've been very privileged to be in those discussions. And they came out, they said, we're going to phase out or phase down fossil fuels. So they had a deal to stop oil on the 13th of December. On the 19th of December, they signed the largest gas deal in the history of Europe. $49 billion. So I'm a lawyer. You want to tell me that while you were negotiating with me, you think a $49 billion gas deal between Norway and Germany was negotiated in 6 days?
Absolutely not.
I'm a lawyer. These things go months.
Yeah.
Months, if not years, to negotiate. So you were on the table with me telling me to stop, while behind the scenes, both of you are saying, let's sign a deal. That has been the nature of COP. It has been a nice show for everybody to say we are doing some nice things and you guys stop your industry and stop that. I think COP is becoming irrelevant. And that is something that is because all the promises, all the pledges, they are never accomplished. They promise African countries all this money, adaptation. You saw the loss and damage. The loss and damage fund. They put only about $80 million in it. So you're telling me Uganda?
Even that's not enough for Uganda. That's for Africa.
Yeah, you're telling me Uganda that I should abandon my resources, leave it in the ground?
That could give you $2 billion a year.
What 2 billion shillings?
Minimum.
Nothing.
No USD.
No, but we have to be very practical.
Yeah.
And we at the chamber have a position.
Yeah.
If you want Uganda and African countries to abandon all their oil, gas in the ground, okay. Let us bring all the best economists, the best financiers, the best geologists. We calculate what we have in the ground. We calculate everything. We calculate the past. Pay up. Pay up. If the oil in Uganda is worth $500 billion, give us the cash.
Yeah.
We'll leave it in the ground. We'll use that $500 billion to do your solar and wind. But while we also know that the wind is not going to shine and blow forever and the sun is not going to shine forever.
Absolutely.
So we have to be very, very careful.
Absolutely.
Because it's not just cash. It is people. We know one thing.
Yeah.
Governments are not the best people to run economies. It's the private sector. So you want to ensure that the private sector is moving, it's thriving, it is empowering others, it's creating new jobs for other people, and it is growing. We cannot kill markets. We cannot kill opportunities because somebody is telling us that we need to do a transition. Like I always say, where we transitioning from? You need to have something, then you transition to something else. You can't go from the dark to the dark.
Absolutely not.
So we can't come in this day and be very, very apologetic. We need to be unapologetic. We owe nobody an apology for wanting to produce oil and natural gas. It is our right. And that's why we believe in drill, baby, drill.
Absolutely. So lastly, the Africa Energy Week, this has been a very prominent event on our calendars every year. Last year was such a great show that I attended myself. We had, yes. So we had a great, the concert was amazing, but the discussions around Africa Energy, and it was so good to see the energy of people that are shooting in the same goalpost, because Africa is so often said we're not doing that. But the Africa Energy Week was creating a platform where that was happening. So what can we look forward to for the next one in November?
We're going 2.0. We're going bigger. And I think one of the key issues about going bigger is that Africa Energy Week is going to be, we are going to have more people this year, more discussions, but also something that we've done and it's going to increase this year is going to be deals. We're going to sign a lot of deals. We already engaged with many companies that are negotiating among themselves, intra-Africa energy deals, international energy companies that are negotiating with governments, international energy companies that are negotiating with joint venture partners. We've seen even companies coming out of Uganda, Kenya, South Sudan, Nigeria that are closing final deals, and they're going to announce them at Africa Energy Week. So I'm really happy because at the end of the day, the reason why we do this is that we want to see Africans doing deals.
Absolutely.
We want to see them signing contracts with international companies, getting stuff together. But also we're going to have a big jobs platform so that people can have access to jobs. We create Team Energy Africa. People have access to real opportunities around energy. We create platforms like your national supplier program you have here in Uganda. We want to have something across Africa where you see deals and everything. But also, we are also going to be very firm on our position on a just energy transition. We are not going to be bamboozled by people in their very, very selfish expression of climate injustice. We can talk about climate justice, not climate injustice, because we cannot abandon our resources in the ground. No nation has been developed by solar or wind.
No.
So if you have a country that's been developed by solar or wind, please let me know. I want to move there. So if no nation has been developed by solar or wind, let us not get caught up in some failed dreams and then get our policies and everything being driven by prophets of doom.
Absolutely. Just bonus question: what is when you look at Africa, what do you think is the state of Africa's energy sector?
State of Africa energy sector remains resilient. We're seeing amazing projects coming up in Mozambique, and there's been delays. It's happening right here in Uganda. Big projects are moving.
Absolutely.
The Talenga, Kingfisher, ECOP is moving. We've ignored the noise around stop ECOP, stop Uganda. That noise, we've ignored that. The train has left the station. If you get in front of it, you're going to get hit. Uganda is moving like a train that has left the station. Namibia is doing amazing things. Total Energies, big discoveries. Shell, big discoveries. Gal, big discoveries. $6.5 billion investment by Total Energies in Angola. They're going to develop that formerly cobalt project. It's going to be big in energy project coming up. They increase petroleum production and gas development in there. You see Nigeria with a lot of new energy projects coming in. They're going to increase production in that market. They refine the Dangote refinery. Yeah. Massive.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're going to build a big refinery like that in Nigeria, and then they want us to stop oil. What's going to go into that refinery? Water?
Absolutely.
So we can't do that. That's why we need drill baby drill policies. But then you look at 2 weeks ago, we had big opening. Fresh oil, Senegal,
yes.
Woodside Energy. They're going to be producing massive amounts of oil in that country. Senegal becomes a petroleum producer. They're going to develop a lot of good things. So the state of African energy is resilient. Libya is increasing production. Algeria is increasing more gas, and that is going to be shipped into Africa and to Europe, and they're also going to be able to bring in more electricity. So they have a big amounts of electricity that can go across Africa. So we do think that African energy is going to go for the state of African energy is resilient. A lot of work needs to be done because our energy poverty numbers are increasing. Jobs are not being, a lot more jobs are not coming on stream, which started the decline since during COVID. So we are going to have to do a lot more work to drive up Africans' energy industry. But I'm happy with what I see because given where we come from, there is big progress going on, but we need to go on a super drive and we need to drill and do a lot more so that we can increase production. Don't forget, South Sudan production is declining.
Yes,
Equatorial Guinea is seeing a mature decline, and we need Gabon as well. We need to be able to increase that. Cameroon is seeing a decline. We need to be able to increase that, bring new fields in the game so that more production, more oil can be produced, more natural gas can be produced that can be used in Africa. But also, I was in Congo, Brazzaville last week, in Ponua. Chinese have a $2 billion petroleum development facility with LPG, natural gas, and crude oil. Amazing, impressive, world-class. power projects right in there. We want to see more projects like what Wingwa is doing, and so we can be able to drive that. So that is kind of stuff that we see, and we want to be able to develop that.
NJ, thank you very much for speaking with
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
There you have it, guys. I have enjoyed my conversation with NJ. Thank you for being with us on this special edition of the BarrelCast. Please comment, and also we will be excited to have you on our next episode.